I ate 2 cookies this morning. That is, I went to my local coffee shop, a place called Penny University, which I often find myself in my best Forrest Gump voice reciting, "I love you, Penny," on the way. And I gave the barista $5 more than the regular amount, and he gave me 2 cookies in addition to my coffee. It's cold this time of year, and in my right hand I gripped that latte, no sugar, tight enough that I could feel the recyclable cup's want to cave in. It held. My left hand carried the brown paper bag that had become the temporary cookie home. The coffee and cookie smell coalesced somewhere in between, climbed up my nostrils like they were tiny hair-filled alcoves on Everest, and warmed my pleasure receptors in the brisk morning air. Coffee and cookies makes me think of Splatoon. Splatoon looks like it would taste delicious. It looks like it would smell delicious. I want to bathe in the ink that washes out each map of Splatoon. Actually, I mean, you can tell me it's ink, but it looks like liquefied candy. Squids do not shoot violet or cyan blue or orange ink. Don't tell me that it's ink, Nintendo. I know that it's edible. I know that it's non-toxic. Splatoon is Willy Wonka's nerds put in a blender and put on high for 40 seconds. You can literally hear the sugar crackling in your mouth each time you pull the trigger in Splatoon. So take almost everything you know about shooting games and throw it in the ocean. Replace all the missing pieces with the exact opposite of what you started with, and now you have Splatoon, resting precariously upon Nintendo's middle finger. You don't necessarily want to shoot at your enemies. There isn't a huge selection of maps. It's nearly flying out of the TV screen with colour, and the single player mode is an inventive platformer-esque experience rather than a by-the-numbers series of explosions tied loosely to a plot. It's nice to see Nintendo do away with the standard ingredients that make a shooter and pluck those weird, hardly used spices from the back of the pantry. But unfortunately, it doesn't always leave you with the best taste in your mouth. Splatoon is an FPS where you play as a squid-human hybrid in an attempt to cover the map in your ink. It's like being a cake decorator in a drug-induced psychosis, except the cake is relatively simple, rectangular maps, and the piping bag is a giant paint roller. There's not much more to say about the overall gameplay elements. I mean, you can mix and match your clothing to give yourself specific bonuses that make you shoot more ink, have different special abilities, or just make you look like a badass. And the weaponry can also be switched out as you level up, which is like most FPS. What is neat is how it all coalesces to form a scrumptious whole in team battles. There's such a level of diversity in the game styles and the abilities that you can use that it should end up sinking in the middle and being inedible, but boy, it does work. The gamepad gives you a great overview of the territory that has been covered in ink through the course of the game, and that allows you to plan where your ink is best spent, the added abilities that will help you tailor your game style, and even though each match isn't exactly lengthy, even if you feel a long way behind in that last final minute scramble, you can still pull out a wonderful victory like it's a perfectly roasted turkey on Christmas Day. Beyond the Call of Duties of the world, the most glaring failure of these latest brand of multiplayer-only shooters like Evolve or Titanfall is that they have as much longevity as a freshly baked apple pie during a hunger strike. Let's get to that then. I mean, this is a Nintendo system we're talking about, so you probably expect the online component to be thrown together like a snag in bread at the local Bunnings. However, they integrate the Miiverse and Amiibos into the title, and that actually just helps Splatoon build a loyal and active following. Most importantly, despite Nintendo's general lack of cohesive online experiences, I experienced very little problems with the latency, dropouts, or finding games. I know online does lack a voice chat, which is a sin greater than putting pineapple on a pizza in this type of game. But I found myself wanting to direct teammates to unpainted sections of the map that were seemingly being ignored, and you can really feel isolated from what makes team multiplayer games great without that voice chat. Splatoon also has a single player mode, and rather than be like an awfully poorly dressed Saturn, it surprisingly works like a delicious side of chips to the main game schnitzel. There's some relatively simple storyline about the major power source for your squid-human hybrid's town being stolen, and then you launch into platformer-style levels where you have to utilise one of the many techniques in the game to progress. It's clever because it's like an advanced tutorial, but it also stands on its own right, with boss battles being fun little meals to devour after completing a few entree levels. Nintendo have committed to a ton of post-launch content, which presumably won't be costing the player much at all, if anything. So with Splatoon, it is like you can have your cake and eat it too. Nintendo has just recently released a new mode and organised events such as Splatfests that confirm that this isn't just a quick cash grab, but a brazen attempt to build something entirely new. For the most part, Splatoon avoids being a big gooey mess, instead resembling a carefully constructed cheesecake with a ton of heart, just like Mum used to make. I'm hungry.